You are now watching Zach Lesage, the best place to learn about competitive Pokemon TCG. Let's get it! Yo, what's poppin' YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, Zach Lesage here. Yo, today we are going to be covering over Decidueye, home of the Deep Forest Camo, blocking your opponent's V, VMAX, and now the newly printed V-Union Pokemon promos. So yes, it does block the V-Unions with Deep Forest Camo, giving this deck a slight buff. This deck has been a little bit all over the place for the past couple months. It goes really high up, it goes really down low, and it really depends if people are playing decks decks that have counters, or decks like Phoebe, or is there a lot of decks that play Inteleon that can attack? Because Suicune can still always attach water energies to their Inteleons and do a lot of damage with their kind of like side piece Pokemon. That's really where Decidueye is going to either succeed or struggle, so we're going to see how it does in this video. If you like Decidueye, or if you like the content I've been producing lately, give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We just passed 6,250 subs. Let's get to 6,300 peeps. Let's get it. And let me know in the comments below if you love or hate Decidueye. Let's spark a discussion. I get back to everyone's comments as soon as possible. If there's anything else that you need, check out the description. I have the list in the description. I have some of my sponsors. You can go to PTCGO plug in code ZLesage5 to save 5% on your next order of codes if you are missing any cards for this deck. That being said, we're going to jump into the deck profile and let you know exactly what's going on with the strategy. Here's the Decidueye deck. So Decidueye is going to revolve around getting Decidueye set up with Deep Forest Camo. That's going to block everything from your opponent's Pokemon V, VMAX, and now V-Union Pokemon. So Decidueye got a slight buff with V-Union cards being printed as promos. If you run into an opponent that sets up a Zacian V, Greninja V, or Mewtwo V, Deep Forest Camo is going to block that damage from attacks. Is it going to really matter too much? We'll find out, but Decidueye got a slight buff if anything. I haven't covered Decidueye in a minute, so if there's anyone new to the channel who wants to learn about this deck is great at just beating up Pokemon V, VMAX, V-Union decks, because Deep Forest Camo is going to block all that damage. You just get Decidueye set up, Splitting Arrow, and then you isolate Pokemon that could potentially attack you. Pokemon that potentially could attack you would be opposing Inteleon and Inteleon kind of Pokemon. That's really where the most single prize card Pokemon happen. If you're playing against a single strike deck, they have Houndoom. A lot of the top tier decks play either Inteleon, Houndoom, or have some kind of out. That's why Decidueye has been pretty lowly placed. You have Snorlax to use Gourmandize to get set up. You could draw cards while you're in the active position and end your turn. You have access to use Sky Circus with Bird Keeper to snipe some damage around. You could combo that with Quick Shooting. You could use Quick Shooting to combo with Splitting Arrow damage. You have the Shady Dealings engine. Now, one thing I do want to bring up is Sobble. We play the 60 HP Sobble because we want to search out other Sobbles in this deck. I know a lot of their decks would be like, yo, we're going to play the 70 HP Sobbles because that one has more HP. And that's fine. I just want to be able to use Shady Dealings. You could Shady Dealings into a copy of Raihan and get a Decidueye set up. And it doesn't really matter if you can't attack with Decidueye, if your opponent cannot attack Decidueye. So in the case where your opponent's playing a deck such as JOLTEON VMAX or anything else like that, it certainly could really add up and hurt your opponent if they just can't do anything against it. We have a lot of ways to search out things like Shady Dealings for an energy search, or Shady Dealings for a scoop up net to lift up the remaining prize cards our opponent might have in play. Things like that. We have Big Parasol to help us against Dragapult and other things. Overall, this deck has a lot of great answers. The list is heavily based off of Jonathan Patricio's list, so shout out to them for playing this list. My list, coincidentally, was very similar before that, but I did see their list recently just to double check to see where we were with Decidueye, so I'm glad to know we're on the same kind of page there. Decidueye decks have largely been unchanged for months now. It did get the new gold Turffield Stadium that looks pretty cool. I mean, I'd like to go to Turffield Stadium one day, but that's just me. It's one of those things where Decidueye is Decidueye, get out Deep Forest Camo, and it works, it works. If it doesn't work, then you're going to fight tooth and nail to see if you can get a win. Let's jump into some gameplay and see. I'm not necessarily going to play on the ladder, and we're not necessarily going to go through a bunch of games. I'm going to ask Michelle, who is my lovely fiance and fellow Shuffle Squad teammate, to play a game against me. I said, choose a deck that does not auto-win against Decidueye, and we'll see how it goes. So I'm assuming she's probably going to pick a deck that plays Inteleon, and we'll see how the matchup goes. Beyond that, if your opponent's just playing a deck that beats Decidueye, yeah, Decidueye is probably going to lose. And if you have no techs against Decidueye, Decidueye is probably going to win. It doesn't make for the best content, but it does show you what Decidueye can do during a game. So let's jump into that gameplay and see exactly what's going on. So we're playing against Michelle, from the shuffle squad, and we won the coin flip. That's absolutely lit. Let's go. Now, winning the coin flip doesn't necessarily matter too much when it comes to this deck. It matters just getting set up and hoping that your opponent does not have a strong counter against Decidueye. This deck is really more or less what you face against. Of course, there's some nuances that are quite difficult, and I mean, the deck is relatively skill-based, but I do want to let it know that if you play against decks that just don't have a great answer against this deck, then you're in a good spot. So we're just going to get out some Rowlet setup. So far, if Michelle's playing Jolteon, I think it should be good, because there's Jolteon V, Jolteon V Max. There probably isn't Cheryl, and it's one of those things where there's probably just Inteleons that can do damage. So we're going to go ahead here and start getting set up. I'm going to go ahead and attach an energy here for our turn, because I don't think they're going to be able to attack with Pin Missile. So we're going to go like that. As long as Pokemon is your active spot, prevent all damage from your opponent's, prevent all effects of attacks from your opponent's Pokemon done to all your Pokemon. So it's something that we're not necessarily going to have to worry too much about. All effects of attack, yeah. So Jolteon's extra 100 is not going to be an effective attack, whereas Dragapult VMAX's would be an effective in attack. Damage counters versus damage. So we're going to have to see exactly what's going on. So we're getting Marnie, that's fine. We didn't have like rare candy or anything else like that going on, so we're pretty good. Okay, let's see what we can get going on here. We want to get a Sobble on our bench, and the reason why we want to get Sobble on our bench is because we are able to now use Shady Dealings. I think that's going to be quite important for us to use, search out our stuff. Evolution Incense isn't really going to help us too much because we do not play Dartrix in this deck. So let's go ahead and go Marnie. There's really no reason for us not to. Seems pretty good for us to go. Now, we still are not going to have access to rare candy or anything else like that. So let's go ahead and go Capture Energy on this Rowlet. We're going to search our deck for another Sobble. We could also just like retreat into a Snorlax, but I do like the fact that we have Evolution Incense and we are able to get set up at some points. Don't overbench to the point where your opponent can draw 5 prize cards, or 6 prize cards, I should say. There's really nothing else that I want to be doing here, so I'm just going to go ahead here and pass. So next turn, we're going to go Drizzile for a rare candy, or maybe Raihan, and we're going to go just get set up. So let's see exactly what is going on. Now, one cool thing that Michelle can do is that she can go ahead and Galarian Zigzagoon and take off multiple of our Pokemon. That's really the biggest thing that we got to worry about when it comes to getting set up here. At some point, it should just be us attacking nonstop with Decidueye, and as long as Michelle does not play Phoebe, we should be able to win. The only attackers that they would have would be the Inteleon, that they might not even... it's limited energies when it comes to this deck, so we should be pretty good. We want to use Decidueye and isolate their Inteleon. So there's Max Thunder Runnable. Michelle's taking a quick lead, but we're going to be able to just kind of get set up here. We do have access to the Drizzile line, and we're just kind of vibing now. So we're going to go, Rowlet goes here, and we're going to go for, ooh, we top decked that. So that's actually sick. We're going to go Evolution Incense, search our deck for a Drizzile. Drizzile is going to be super helpful. And we're going to go Drizzile here, search our deck. Let's search for Raihan. So Raihan's going to allow us to grab a few things that we might need. So let's grab Raihan and get set up. I do want to make sure that we do have the energy in our discard pile and that I'm just not seeing things. It's always good to double check anyways. So let's go Raihan onto the Rowlets. We are going to search our deck for a card to put into our hand. At this point, I think I'm fine just grabbing a Drizzile so we can get set up with all that. We have Turffield Stadium. Turffield Stadium will allow us to search out for our Decidueye, our beautiful shiny Decidueye. We are going to go for the energy there. We don't want to put this Rowlet down. So the reason why we don't want to put that Rowlet down is because it's just going to get sniped off a Max Thunder Rumble. And I don't necessarily think we're too worried about what else is going on at this point. I'm probably just going to grab an Evolution Incense, or maybe, yeah, I'm just going to grab Evolution Incense. That gives us a lot of options to scoop up and net our Pokemon and just be in a good spot. So let's go Splitting Arrow, and let's start attacking these Pokemon right here. So Splitting Arrow for the rest of the game. And I mean, Max Thunder Rumble can potentially knock out these Drizziles if Michelle is able to place damage counters on them with Max Thunder Rumble. But it's one of those things where, again, we're in a spot where we don't necessarily need to worry too much. We have our Decidueye. Now, one thing that we could worry about is if Michelle's able to ever two-shot this Decidueye. That is something that we legitimately would have to worry about. So she's probably going to pivot her strategy into attacking our other Pokemon, or maybe getting set up with Inteleons. It could be difficult, but with Inteleon and the other Inteleon being discarded, I can only imagine that Michelle plays one copy. We should be able to get through one of them in general. So if there's ever energies going, boss's orders, anything else like that would be cool. Now, the damage counter going on the Decidueye doesn't really matter there at all, because it's not ever going to get any damage with Max Thunder Rumble. Path of the Peak, we're not a rule box Pokemon, so it might have just been a slight oversight, but Deep Forest Camo is going to prevent everything. So there's the damage to the active. That could have been a knockout on the Drizzile, but it doesn't necessarily matter. It does give us options for the Evolution Incense. Now, we could get Rowlet set up here and really hope. I don't know if they play Echoing Horn. That's one of the things that could be difficult for us. But we're actually just going to go ahead and yank up that Drizzile. I think that's going to be the best case scenario for us. So let's go for Shady Dealings. We can go ahead and grab a Boss's Orders. So Boss's Orders is going to be one of those cards. And we're going to go ahead here and grab... I'm not entirely sure what I want to grab. I think I'm just fine to grab a Research. That seems relatively fine to me. And we're going to go Boss's Orders and take that Pokemon out. Just taking away all of Michelle's opportunities to attack. We're going to go ahead and go Splitting Arrow. So let's go Splitting Arrow, hit there, and where else do we want to hit? Michelle's already played one Scoop Up Net, so I think she plays one more. We're just going to hit one on this Jolteon VMAX. And again, we're just going to try to bide the game as much as possible here. So overall, we're in a pretty good spot, kind of with a full Decidueye lockdown. And this is really what Decidueye does really well when you're playing Decidueye. You hit the right matchup, and you're able to just completely stop your opponent's deck completely. If you hit a wrong matchup, you're not doing too much. And I mean, there's access to Inteleon in this deck, and there's access to other things like Chatot technically could attack us. Anything that could get through Deep Forest Camo does make it difficult for us to get through this matchup. We just want to isolate those as much as possible. So we're going to see a Boss's Orders. The Inteleon is going to get knocked out from weakness with Michelle using Max Thunder Rumble, putting herself to only 2 prize cards remaining. This is really why we don't want to overbench, because they can just go Shady Dealings for like an Echoing Horn, and there are lists that play that tech. So Jolteon can still be a tough matchup. That's the reason why Decidueye is not seeing too much play. A lot of decks are playing Inteleon. If they're playing Water Energy, they can attack with like things like Aqua Bullet and actually hit you pretty hard. So that's why Decidueye is not necessarily the best deck right now. But it is one of those things where we can kind of get set up and put ourselves in a decent enough position where this deck can be pretty cool. Let's go ahead, and in case there's any like random Crushing Hammers, I'm just going to attach another Grass Energy here. There's no reason for me to play Research. We're just going to go low and slow, Splitting Arrow. Now, when it comes to the Inteleon with Quick Shooting, I believe it has 150 HP. So just trying to refresh my memory. I know I play this card, and I play this card so often. I play so much Pokemon. We're just trying to hit for the proper numbers here. So 90 plus 60 equals 150. We're going to hit this for 20. And then we're just going to start going against either the Chatot or the Zigzagoon. Now, Michelle's still only played the one Scoop Up Net. Which one's going to likely stay? I think I don't think Zigzagoon's gonna stay on the bench too long, so we're just going to go like that. I wish I could do an extra 10 damage to this Pokemon so we could actually get the knockout with Splitting Arrow, but it doesn't necessarily matter. We're not trying to really draw prize cards. Michelle does not play anything through it, so she's just going to concede this game. We are going to take the dub. And that's what we got going on for this video today, peeps. Decidueye is going to be a short and sweet one. We were able to get that dub, and it's one of those things where we could have also lost that game. That's a pretty close matchup. Slightly favorable for us because Michelle is unable to really attack with the Inteleons as efficiently as, let's say, an Ice Rider deck, or let's say a Suicune deck. But, I mean, she still could have been able to get out the Inteleons. We did a really good job at isolating them early. That boss literally could have won us the game. And it's one of those things, if there's no more outs and you can't get set up, that's where you're at. I mean, I think Decidueye is really cool if you want to beat down on some V Max, V Union decks. If you're hitting other decks, you're probably not having nearly as great as a time. So it's really high risk, high reward. And that's really where Decidueye has been able to spike some events. Again, if you have already liked this video, give this video a thumbs up. It really helps boost the YouTube algorithm. Let's subscribe to the channel too if you haven't already. We just passed 6,250. If we get to 6,300, that'd be pretty lit. Let's get it. And let me know in the comments again if you like Decidueye or if you don't like Decidueye. Let's spark a discussion. I'm going to go edit this video and get it up on YouTube for all of y'all. Have yourself a great day. Peace out and have a great one. I want to give a huge shout out to everyone who's become a channel member. It's one of those things where I appreciate every single person who watches my videos, and I mean, that's really where it counts, but for the channel members, they've gone out of their way to financially support me, and I truly appreciate that gesture. It's one of those things when I started channel memberships up on my channel, and I just didn't know if anyone was ever going to do it, so I truly appreciate everyone taking the plunge, taking a leap of trust, and investing in me as a content creator. Truly makes a difference for me each and every month. If you haven't already thought about becoming a channel member, you might want to contribute to the channel, and I do put everything back into the channel to make it the best possible place to watch for Pokemon TCG content. Again, I truly appreciate everyone. Thank you so much. Cheers. I truly appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. It means the world to me. And my goal with this channel is to spread my love of the game and knowledge with our entire Pokemon TCG community. If you haven't already, help signal boost this video to other Pokemon TCG fans by liking it, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to the channel. Hopefully we reach our goals really soon. Check out this recommended video, and have yourself a great day. Thanks.